When I arrived in Lyon, France, despite all the stories I'd heard, I had no idea what was really waiting for me. The only thing I knew for sure was what I was leaving behind. Loving family, friends, pets who might not be there when I returned, 100 memories I was choosing to exchange for a completely new type of adventure. I was homesick before I even settled into my new home. When I arrived in Lyon, France, it was early January. The sky was gray, the streets a faded brown, the two rivers a weak green. One of the first things I did was climb up to Fourvière, the omniscient basilica on the hill, to look at the city from above. I wondered, how could a city so big and hauntingly beautiful have so few people, so little music, hardly any life? There's a word in the French language, flâner, that doesn't really have an exact English translation. Basically, it means to walk around leisurely, letting one's mind drift to faraway places, heading in no particular direction. The first few days, weeks, and months, this is what I did. I passed by outdoor cafes that were closed for the season, grandiose fountains that were bone dry. After a while, the places that seemed so desolate, when I visited for the first time, became part of my daily routine, and as I continued to visit them, I started to notice the life I was looking for, bleeding through the cracks. The most obvious sign of life? Movement. I learned that if I sat in one place long enough, there was a good chance I'd see some form of sport. I'd never been to a skate park before, but I got to pass one every single day on my walk to school. I noticed the same kid was on his bike every time. I thought about where else he spends his time besides here. With each walk to school, his tricks got better and better. By the Hôtel de Ville, there are always skateboarders. They mess up. A lot. Time and time again, over and over. Repetition. It's like they were trying to tell me that the joy in an experience was through the act of doing, not the result. At least the result takes work. A few streets away, a pop-up ice skating rink. I gave it my best shot, but I had nothing on this guy. His effortless grace helped thaw my wintry impressions of this place. Music was a little harder to find, but I did find it. People may not play music in the streets like they do in Marseille or Paris, or at spring break locations in the United States, but at night in almost every venue and bar the nations of the world joined together to enjoy music. In January, I went to an open mic, and I was too shy to dance, but someone let me borrow their guitar, and I took to the stage. In March, I saw live jazz in a hole in the wall. I danced with new friends. My favorite was probably the psychedelic Turkish band I saw by myself in the basement of the Opera. Though I was in a completely unfamiliar environment and country, surrounded by a language that I was struggling to master, and, because there were Turkish fans in the crowd, a language I knew nothing about, there's something so universal about music. It's a language without words that everyone can understand. Watching the mass of strangers swarm the center stage during the act's grand finale, I had to admit I underestimated the charm of this city. The third and final sign of life that surprised me and how much joy it brought me were the birds. Lots and lots of birds, specifically pigeons, ducks, and swans. Lyon is filled with them. When I first arrived, the birds were a negative symbol of the mobility that I didn't have. I was so jealous of the fact that they could fly away and I couldn't. Yet the longer I was in Lyon, the more I realized that I was seeing the same birds, meaning they always chose to come back. Granted, that was probably because people were always feeding them old baguettes, but still, I like to think that they too saw the beauty that bloomed through repetition, in discovering the unknown through the repeated quotidian actions of the everyday. It seems all too ironic that as I prepare to leave this place in just over a month, flowers are blooming from every corner, children are playing at every riverside park, and the coffee never ceases to flow from the barista's cafetière. It's as if everyone was wandering aimlessly during winter, just like me, just never at the same time and place. Now that spring has sprung, everyone has silently agreed to make Lyon as difficult to leave as possible. Like the loveliest pansy on my evening walks in the nearby park, the city of Lyon has bloomed beautifully in these past few weeks. Or maybe it's simply me who has bloomed with time.